Thank you. Director Wray, I want to thank you and the men and women of your agency for the work you do every day. I think I'm the only member of this committee who is also a member of the Senate Judiciary Committee, and I'd like to talk with you about the Kavanaugh hearings. So I just want to be clear about how the system works. When the FBI was given the direction to do the background investigation as it related to Dr. Ford's allegations, that's an instruction that goes to the FBI from the White House. Is that correct? Not from the Senate?
That's correct.
And when the FBI was directed then to do that investigation as it relates to those specific allegations, was the FBI given full discretion, or was the scope of the investigation limited by the direction you received from the White House?
Well, Senator, I want to be a little bit careful about what I can talk about in this setting.
So I'm clear. I'm not asking you for the content of the investigation,
understood,
just the process.
Understood. There are MOUs and other things that go back a ways that govern this, but I think it's important, I would say this, it's important to understand that unlike most investigations, like the sort that you and I and Senator Jones have all been familiar with, traditional criminal investigations, national security investigations, a background investigation is very different. And that is done, our only authority is as requested by the adjudicating agency.
The White House
in this case is the White House.
And I have a lot to cover, and so if we can be as succinct as possible, I appreciate it. And I know there are a lot of details, and I appreciate your point. So in this situation, was your direction limited in scope, or were you given full discretion to investigate whatever your agency thought was appropriate to figure out what happened?
I think I would say that our investigation here, our supplemental update to the previous background investigation was limited in scope, and that is consistent with the standard process for such investigations going back quite a long ways.
And did you receive this directive in writing?
There's been lots of communication as is standard, between the FBI Security Division and the White House's Office of Security.
Was it in writing?
And I would expect that there would be written communications, but I can't speak to that here.
Can you find the direction and provide it to this committee, the documents?
I would have to see what would be appropriate.
Okay. And who from the White House communicated the directive?
Well, as I said, the communication between the FBI and the White House for nominations, including judicial nominations, is through the FBI's Security Division, which has background investigation specialists, and the White House Office of Security. And that's where the communication always is. And I've spoken with our background investigation specialists, and they have assured me that this was handled in the way that is consistent with their experience and the standard process. Did anyone in your agency receive any direction about the scope of the investigation directly from Don McGahn? Well, I can't speak to what anybody throughout the organization might have received instructions on. My understanding is that the communications occurred between the White House's Office of Security and the FBI Security Division.
Do you know who determined that the FBI would not interview Judge Kavanaugh or Dr. Ford or the list of 40-plus witnesses?
Again, I would say what I said at the beginning, which is, as is standard, the investigation was very specific in scope, limited in scope, and that is the usual process, and that my folks have assured me that the usual process was followed.
Okay. And did the FBI look into allegations as to whether Judge Kavanaugh lied to Congress during his testimony?
That's not something I could discuss here.
Okay. Thank you.